Ambassador Jordan Morgan's nostrils flare as he steps onto the pristine landing pad of the Voxari capital. The alien air carries unfamiliar scents, tickling his nose and causing an involuntary sneeze. In that moment, his body releases a cloud of human pheromones, invisible yet potent. The effect is instantaneous. Vesta, the lead Voxari diplomat, freezes mid-greeting. Her iridescent skin shimmers with sudden intensity, large eyes dilating as she inhales deeply. Around them, other Voxari females react similarly, their slender forms tensing as if electrified. Jordan, oblivious to the chemical storm he's unleashed, extends his hand in the traditional Earth greeting. "On behalf of humanity, I bring you." His words are cut short as Vesta lunges forward, pressing her face against his neck and inhaling deeply. The human delegation watches in shock as other Voxari females edge closer, their usual composure replaced by primal hunger. Voxari males, caught off guard by this unprecedented behavior, begin to bristle. Their hands move to ornate weapons at their sides, eyes narrowing at the human interloper who has seemingly bewitched their females. Jordan steps back, hands raised in a placating gesture. "I assure you, this is not part of our diplomatic protocol," he says, his voice steady despite the rising tension. Vesta, visibly struggling against her instincts, attempts to regain control. "Forgive us, Ambassador," she says, her voice husky. "You're sent. It's unlike anything we've encountered." The Voxari elders, observing from a raised platform, exchange worried glances. One leans down to whisper urgently to an aide, who nods and hurries away. Jordan's comm unit buzzes. He steps aside to answer, keeping a wary eye on the increasingly agitated Voxari males. "Morgan here," he says quietly. The voice of his superior crackles through. "We've just been briefed on the situation. This is an unexpected development, but one we can use to our advantage. The Centauri system dispute has been at a stalemate for months. If the Voxari are this affected by human pheromones, it could give us the edge we need." Jordan's jaw tightens. "Sir, with all due respect, we don't fully understand what's happening here. This could easily spiral out of control." "That's an order, Ambassador. Use this attraction to secure our interests. Earth is counting on you." The comm goes silent. Jordan looks up to see Vesta approaching again, her movements almost predatory. Behind her, a group of Voxari females has gathered, their eyes fixed on him with unmistakable desire. In the distance, alarms begin to sound. The Voxari elder who sent the aide away now stands, addressing the crowd. "For the safety of all, we must consider quarantine measures for our human guests." Jordan feels the weight of two worlds pressing down on him. To his left, his human team looks to him for direction. To his right, Vesta reaches out, her fingers almost brushing his arm. And all around, the delicate balance of interspecies, peace teeters on the edge of chaos. In this moment, Ambassador Jordan Morgan realizes that his next actions will shape the future of humanity's place among the stars. With a deep breath, he prepares to navigate the most challenging diplomatic waters of his career, acutely aware that the fate of two species hangs in the balance. Ambassador Jordan Morgan's breath caught in his throat as he assessed the rapidly deteriorating situation. The Voxari female's eyes gleamed with an unsettling hunger, while the males bristled with terrifying aggression. He could feel the weight of two worlds pressing down on him, the fate of interspecies relations hanging by a thread. Before he could formulate a response, a commotion erupted from the far side of the landing pad. A tall, imposing Voxari male pushed through the crowd, his ornate robes marking him as a high-ranking official. "I am Chief Diplomat Zorn," he announced, his voice carrying a steely edge. "Ambassador Morgan, your presence here is causing unprecedented disruption to our society. I demand your immediate removal from our planet." Jordan opened his mouth to protest, but Vesta stepped between them, her iridescent skin pulsing with agitation. "Chief Zorn, please. This is clearly an unforeseen biological reaction. We cannot simply—" "Silence," Zorn hissed, his eyes narrowing. "Your judgment is compromised, Vesta. Can you not see the danger this human poses?" As tensions escalated, Jordan's comm unit buzzed again. He answered it discreetly, keeping one eye on the unfolding drama before him. Morgan here, he whispered. Ambassador, this is Mission Control. We're dispatching Dr. Elena Reeves, our top xenobiologist, to your location. She'll be there within the hour to assess the situation. Relief washed over Jordan. Understood. We'll hold our position until then. Turning back to the assembled Voxari, Jordan raised his hands in a placating gesture. I assure you, we're working to understand and willpower this situation. If you'll allow me to remain here under controlled conditions, we can... His words were cut short by a sudden commotion at the perimeter of the landing pad. A group of Voxari females had broken through the security cordon, their eyes fixed on Jordan with unmistakable desire. The human security team, led by a woman Jordan recognized as Captain Sarah Chen, moved to intercept them. Hold your positions, Chen shouted to her team. Non-lethal measures only. Jordan watched in horror as the situation spiraled out of control. The Voxari males moved to confront the approaching females, weapons drawn. Vesta stepped forward, her voice strained as she attempted to regain control. Please, sisters, control yourselves. This is not our way. But her words fell on deaf ears. The pheromone-addled females pressed forward, forcing Chen's team to deploy stun batons. The crackle of electricity filled the air, along with the shrieks of the affected Voxari. In the midst of the chaos, Jordan felt a hand grasp his arm. He turned to find Vesta, her large eyes filled with a mixture of desire and tenacity. Ambassador, she said, her voice husky, I have a proposal. We must get you to safety before this escalates further. Jordan nodded, acutely aware of the warmth of her touch. What do you suggest? Our scientific complex has isolation chambers designed for the study of potentially hazardous biological agents. If you agree to be sequestered there, we can study this pheromone effect in a controlled environment. Jordan hesitated, torn between his diplomatic duties and the potential scientific breakthrough this situation presented. After a moment's consideration, he nodded. Agreed. Lead the way. As they made their way through the throng, Jordan couldn't help but notice the effect his proximity had on Vesta. Her breathing quickened, and her skin shimmered with increased intensity. He found himself equally affected, hyper-aware of her alien yet alluring presence. They boarded a sleek Voxari transport vehicle, its interior cool and sterile. As the doors sealed shut, blocking out the chaos outside, Vesta turned to Jordan. I must apologize for my behavior earlier, she said, her voice low. Your scent, it triggers something primal in us, something we thought long dormant. Jordan leaned forward, intrigued. What do you mean? Vesta's eyes met his, a spark of excitement dancing within them. Our species undergoes a cyclical mating season, triggered by specific environmental cues. Your pheromones seem to mimic those cues perfectly. It's as if our bodies recognize something in you. The implications of her words hung heavy in the air between them. Jordan opened his mouth to respond, but before he could, the transport came to a smooth stop. The doors slid open, revealing a vast, gleaming complex. Standing before them was a stern-looking Voxari male, his posture rigid and unwelcoming. Ambassador Morgan, he said, his tone clipped. I am lead scientist Crix. Welcome to your new home. For now. As Jordan stepped out of the transport, he couldn't shake the feeling that he was walking into something far more complex than a simple diplomatic incident. With Vesta at his side and the watchful eyes of Crix upon him, he prepared to face whatever challenges lay ahead, knowing that the fate of human Voxari relations, and perhaps the key to both species' evolutionary histories, rested in his hands. As Jordan stepped into the isolation chamber, the sterile environment felt like a stark contrast to the chaos he'd left behind. The transparent walls allowed him to see the bustling activity of Voxari scientists outside, their iridescent skin shimmering under the bright lights of the complex. Days passed, and Jordan found himself adapting to his new surroundings. However, something unexpected began to occur. His senses seemed to sharpen, particularly when it came to perceiving the Voxari. At first, he dismissed it as a trick of the light, but soon he couldn't deny the changes. One morning, as Vesta approached his chamber for their daily briefing, Jordan noticed subtle shifts in her skin tone. The usual shimmer seemed more pronounced, with hints of blue and green dancing across her surface. Good morning, Ambassador, Vesta said, her voice coming through the chamber's communication system. How are you feeling today? Jordan blinked, focusing on the new sensations. I'm fine, but something's different. Vesta, your skin, I can see changes in it. Are you feeling all right? Vesta's eyes widened slightly, a flicker of surprise that Jordan could now clearly interpret. I'm well, thank you. But what do you mean about my skin? He described the subtle color shifts he observed, watching as Vesta's surprise turned to fascination. Her skin rippled with shades of purple and gold. Excitement, Jordan realized with a start. This is remarkable, Vesta said, leaning closer to the chamber wall. No other species has ever been able to perceive our emotional indicators to this degree. We must inform lead scientist Crix immediately. As Vesta hurried away, Jordan felt a mix of exhilaration and unease. What was happening to him? Meanwhile, in a nearby laboratory, Dr. Elena Reeves pored over genetic data streaming across her holographic display. Her eyes widened as she spotted an anomaly in Jordan's DNA sequence. This can't be right, she muttered, running the analysis again. But the results were the same. Dormant genes in Jordan's DNA bore an uncanny resemblance to ancient Voxari genetic markers. Dr. Reeves immediately contacted both Earth's government and the Voxari scientific team. Within hours, the news had spread like wildfire through the complex and beyond. In the isolation chamber, Jordan felt the shift in atmosphere. The Voxari scientists outside moved with increased urgency, their skin tones fluctuating rapidly in what he now recognized as a mix of excitement and anxiety. Crix entered the observation area, his posture rigid. Ambassador Morgan, we've made a significant discovery regarding your genetic makeup. It appears there may be a link between human and Voxari DNA. Jordan's mind reeled at the implications. How is that possible? Before Crix could respond, alarms blared throughout the complex. Captain Sarah Chen's voice crackled over the intercom. Security alert. Protesters have breached the outer perimeter. All non-essential personnel evacuate immediately. Through the chamber walls, Jordan watched as chaos erupted. Voxari scientists scrambled to secure their research, while security forces rushed to defensive positions. Vesta appeared at the chamber entrance, her skin pulsing with urgency. Ambassador, we need to move you to a more secure location. As the door slid open, Jordan was hit by a wave of Voxari pheromones. The prolonged isolation had heightened his sensitivity, and he staggered slightly at the intensity of the sensation. Vesta steadied him, her touch sending an electric current through his body. Are you all right? Jordan nodded, trying to focus. Yes, I'm fine. Let's go. They hurried through the corridors, the sounds of the approaching protesters growing louder. Jordan's enhanced senses were on overdrive, picking up minute changes in the environment and the Voxari around him. As they rounded a corner, they nearly collided with Dr. Reeves. Her eyes widened at the sight of Jordan. Ambassador, I need to speak with you urgently about... Her words were cut off by a violent explosion that rocked the building. The lights flickered, plunging the corridor into momentary darkness. We need to keep moving, Vesta urged, her skin now a deep red. Fear, Jordan realized. As they continued their frantic journey through the complex, Jordan's mind raced. The genetic discovery, his evolving abilities, the protests. Everything was spiraling out of control. He could feel the weight of two worlds pressing down on him. Once again, but this time, the stakes seemed infinitely higher. In the distance, he heard the angry shouts of the protesters, their words becoming clearer as they drew nearer. Humans off Voxari! Protect our genetic purity! Jordan exchanged a worried glance with Vesta. Whatever happened next would shape the future of both their species. As they approached a sealed security door, Jordan steeled himself for what lay ahead, knowing that his actions in the coming moments could either bridge the gap between their worlds or tear them apart forever. As they reached the sealed security door, Jordan's enhanced senses picked up the sound of footsteps approaching rapidly from behind. He turned to see Dr. Reeves running towards them, her face flushed with urgency. Ambassador, wait, she called out, skidding to a halt beside them. I have a potential solution. Jordan glanced at Vesta, then back to Dr. Reeves. We don't have much time. What is it? Dr. Reeves held up a small device no larger than a coin. It's an experimental pheromone suppressor developed by lead scientist Crix. It might neutralize your effect on the Voxari. Jordan hesitated, weighing the risks. The angry shouts of the protesters grew louder, and he could feel Vesta's skin pulsing with anxiety beside him. "What are the risks?" he asked quickly. "Unknown," Dr. Reeves admitted. "It's untested on humans." Jordan locked eyes with Vesta, seeing the conflict in her gaze. He made his decision. "Do it." Dr. Reeves activated the device and attached it to Jordan's neck. For a moment, nothing happened. Then a cool sensation spread across his skin, and he felt a subtle shift in the air around him. Vesta's eyes widened, her skin shifting to a pale blue. "Your scent, it's changing." Before they could discuss further, the security door burst open. Captain Sarah Chen and her team rushed in, their weapons raised. "Ambassador, we need to move now," Chen ordered. "The protesters have breached the outer defenses." As they hurried through the corridors, Jordan noticed a change in the Voxari they encountered. The females who had been so affected by his presence earlier now seemed confused, their movements less frantic. They reached the central atrium just as the main doors gave way. A surge of Voxari protesters flooded in, their eyes wild with a mixture of desire and anger. But as they approached Jordan, their advance faltered. "Something's wrong," one of the female protesters said, her voice permeated with confusion. "The scent, it's gone." Captain Chen seized the moment of disorientation. She signaled to her team and the Voxari security forces. Together, they formed a barrier between the protesters and Jordan's group. "Stand down," Chen shouted, her voice carrying authority. "This is your final warning." The protesters hesitated, the absence of Jordan's pheromones clearly affecting their determination. After a tense standoff, they began to retreat, muttering in confusion. As the immediate threat subsided, Jordan felt a wave of relief wash over him. But his respite was short-lived. Elder Zerx, a member of the Voxari High Council, approached with a stern expression. "Ambassador Morgan," Zerx said, his tone clipped, "your presence has caused unprecedented chaos on our world. We demand answers." Jordan nodded, feeling the weight of the moment. "Of course, Elder. I believe we all need answers." Dr. Reeves stepped forward, her tablet in hand. "If I may, I have some information that might shed light on this situation." Elder Zerx narrowed his eyes but nodded for her to continue. Dr. Reeves activated her holographic display, showing complex DNA sequences. "Our analysis has revealed something extraordinary. There appears to be a genetic link between humans and Voxari." The revelation sent shockwaves through the assembled group. Vesta's skin rippled with a kaleidoscope of colors, reflecting the tumult of emotions Jordan could now perceive with startling clarity. "Impossible," Elder Zerx breathed, his composure slipping for the first time. As the implications of Dr. Reeves's announcement sank in, Jordan became aware of a strange sensation. His perception of the Voxari's emotions seemed to intensify, becoming more vivid and nuanced. He could almost taste Vesta's confusion and excitement, feel the prickle of Elder Zerx's suspicion. Jordan turned to Vesta, struck by the depth of emotion he could now sense from her. Their eyes met, and he saw a reflection of his own turmoil in her gaze. The connection between them had grown stronger, more complex, and he struggled to maintain his professional demeanor. "We need to investigate this further," Elder Zerx declared, regaining his composure. "This information cannot leave this room until we understand its full implications." As the group began to discuss the next steps, Jordan noticed Dr. Reeves discreetly collecting a DNA sample from him. Her actions seemed innocuous, but something about her furtive glances made him uneasy. Unnoticed by the others, lead scientist Crix observed Dr. Reeves with narrowed eyes, his suspicion evident in the tense set of his shoulders. Jordan opened his mouth to question Dr. Reeves, but before he could speak, alarms blared throughout the complex once again. Captain Chen's communicator crackled to life. "Captain Chen's." "Captain, we have reports of explosions at multiple Voxari industrial facilities," a voice reported urgently. "Early indications suggest human involvement." The atmosphere in the room shifted instantly, tension crackling like electricity. Jordan could sense the surge of anger and fear from the Voxari present, their skin flashing with vibrant reds and deep purples. Elder Zix turned to Jordan, his eyes cold. "Ambassador, if your people are responsible for these acts—" Jordan raised his hands, his enhanced empathy allowing him to navigate the delicate situation. "Elder, I assure you, if humans are involved, it's without the knowledge or sanction of our government. We must investigate this together." As the room erupted into heated discussions, Jordan's mind raced. The genetic link, the attacks, Dr. Reeves's secretive behavior, everything was spiraling into a complex web of intrigue and danger. He knew his next actions would be crucial in shaping the future of human-Voxari relations. Taking a deep breath, Jordan stepped forward, drawing everyone's attention. "I have a proposal," he announced, his voice steady despite the turmoil he felt inside. "One that might help us uncover the truth and promote cooperation between our species." All eyes turned to him, a mixture of curiosity and skepticism evident in the Voxari's shifting skin tones. Jordan could feel the weight of two worlds on his shoulders once again, but this time he was determined to find a path forward, regardless of the cost. Risks. As the gravity of the situation settled over the room, Jordan knew he had to act decisively. "I propose a public demonstration of the pheromone suppression technology," Jordan said, his voice steady despite the tension in the air. "It's time we address this issue head-on with full transparency." Elder Zix's skin rippled with a mix of colors, betraying his conflicting emotions. After a moment's hesitation, he nodded. "Agreed. We must show our people that we have a solution." Within hours, preparations were underway for a large-scale demonstration in the capital city's open-air amphitheater. As Jordan stood backstage, he could hear the murmur of thousands of Voxari citizens filling the seats. The air was thick with anticipation and unease. Vesta approached, her skin pulsing with a soft blue hue. "Are you ready for this, Ambassador?" Jordan nodded, feeling the weight of the moment. "As ready as I'll ever be." Lead scientist Crix joined them, his expression grave. "Remember, Ambassador, we're dealing with untested technology. The risks are significant." Taking a deep breath, Jordan stepped out onto the stage, flanked by Vesta and Crix. The amphitheater fell silent, all eyes fixed on the human at the center of the controversy. "Citizens of Voxari," Jordan began, his voice amplified across the vast space. "I stand before you today to address the situation that has caused so much turmoil on your world." He explained the pheromone issue and the suppression technology, his words broadcast via holographic displays to millions across the planet. Then, with a nod to Crix, Jordan deactivated the suppression device on his neck. The effect was immediate and visually striking. A wave of color rippled through the audience as the Voxari females reacted to his pheromones. Jordan could see the struggle on their faces, their skins shifting rapidly between hues. Beside him, Vesta's composure wavered, her own physiological changes becoming more apparent. After allowing the effect to register, Jordan reactivated the device. The relief in the amphitheater was palpable as the pheromone influence dissipated. Elder Zix stepped forward, his skin a calm green. "I can attest to the authenticity of this demonstration. This technology offers a path forward for our peoples." A murmur of cautious optimism spread through the crowd. But just as Jordan began to feel a glimmer of hope, chaos erupted. A group of Voxari in the audience suddenly sprang into action, releasing a mysterious compound into the air. Jordan's eyes widened as he realized what was happening. The pheromone suppressor was malfunctioning. An overwhelming wave of pheromones flooded the amphitheater, far more potent than before. The effect on the Voxari females was immediate and extreme. Their rational minds seemed to slip away, replaced by primal instincts. "Zerx agents!" Crix shouted, his skin flashing warning colors. "They've sabotaged the device!" The amphitheater descended into pandemonium. Security forces struggled to maintain control as Voxari females surged towards the stage, their eyes fixed on Jordan. The males in the crowd reacted with confusion and growing aggression. Amidst the chaos, Jordan turned to Vesta and froze. Her body was changing before his eyes. Her iridescent skin began to fade, taking on a more human-like tone. Her facial features shifted subtly, becoming an alien hybrid of Voxari and human characteristics. "Vesta, Jordan reached out to her, shock and concern overwhelming him. Before he could react further, Captain Chen and her security team burst onto the stage. "Ambassador, we need to evacuate now," she shouted over the din. As they fought their way through the frenzied crowd, Jordan noticed other Voxari females undergoing similar transformations. The sight sent a chill down his spine as he realized the far-reaching implications of what was happening. Dr. Reeves appeared, pushing through the crowd with a syringe in hand. "Ambassador, I have an emergency dose of suppressants." But before she could reach them, Liad scientist Crix intercepted her. His eyes blazed with fury as he grabbed her arm. "You! What have you done? What is Project Chimera?" Jordan watched the confrontation unfold, his mind racing. The chaos was spreading beyond the amphitheater, into the surrounding city. Reports were coming in of transformations occurring across the planet. As they neared the exit, Jordan made a split-second decision. Instead of following Captain Chen to the evacuation point, he turned back. "Ambassador, what are you doing?" Chen called out, her voice imbued with urgency. "I can't leave," Jordan replied, his eyes fixed on Vesta's changing form. "I started this. I need to help fix it." Ignoring Chen's protest, Jordan pushed back through the crowd towards Vesta. The Voxari homeworld was descending into chaos around him, but in that moment all he could think about was the alien woman who had become so important to him. As night fell on the Voxari capital, Jordan found himself in a secure facility with Vesta and a conflicted Crix. Outside, the planet teetered on the brink of societal collapse, but the true scale of the crisis was yet to reveal itself. As light years away, the Zerx prepared to make their move in a game that now extended far beyond the boundaries of a single world. Planet. But the true scale of the crisis was yet to reveal itself. As light years away, the Zerx prepared to make their move in a game that now extended far beyond the boundaries of a single world. In the days that followed, the Voxari homeworld descended into chaos. The pheromone-induced transformations spread like wildfire, affecting a significant portion of the female population. Jordan and Vesta found themselves isolated in a secure facility, under the watchful eye of lead scientist Crix. As Vesta's transformation stabilized, Jordan couldn't help but notice the changes. Her once iridescent skin had taken on a more human-like tone, and her facial features had softened, creating an alien yet strangely familiar visage. Their eyes met, and Jordan felt a surge of emotion he couldn't quite explain. "How are you feeling?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Vesta raised a hand to her face, her fingers tracing the contours of her new features. "Different," she replied, her voice trembling slightly. "But not entirely unfamiliar. It's as if a part of me has always been like this, waiting to emerge." Their conversation was interrupted by the sound of raised voices outside their room. Lead scientist Crix burst in, his skin flashing with agitated colors. "The situation is deteriorating rapidly," Crix announced, his eyes darting between Jordan and Vesta. "The High Council is overwhelmed. Riots have broken out in major cities, and families are being torn apart as transformed females are quarantined." Jordan stepped forward, his diplomatic instincts kicking in. "We need to address this crisis head-on. Let us help, Crix. Keeping us isolated isn't going to solve anything." Crix's skin rippled with indecision. Before he could respond, an alarm blared through the facility. A holographic display flickered to life, showing a fleet of unfamiliar ships entering the Voxari system. "Zerx warships," Crix hissed, his colors shifting to a dark, threatening hue. "They claim to be offering humanitarian aid, but I don't trust their intentions." As they watched the Zerx ships descend through the atmosphere, Jordan's communicator crackled to life. Captain Chen's voice came through, tense and urgent. "Ambassador, we've intercepted Zerx communications. They're planning to kidnap transform Voxari females. You and Vesta are in danger." Jordan's mind raced, piecing together the implications. He turned to Crix, his expression grave. "Lead scientist, we need to act now. Vesta and I might be the key to navigating this crisis and countering the Zerx threat." Crix's internal struggle played out across his skin in a dance of conflicting colors. Finally, he nodded. "Very well, Ambassador. But you'll remain under Voxari supervision." As they emerged from the facility, the full scale of the transformation became apparent. The streets were in disarray, with groups of agitated Voxari males confronting squads of security forces. Transformed females, their appearances now a striking blend of Voxari and human features, were being ushered into quarantine zones. Jordan and Vesta moved through the chaos, their unique appearances drawing curious and sometimes hostile stares. They made their way to the Voxari High Council chambers, where they found the council members in a state of near panic. Elder Zerx approached them, his usually composed demeanor shattered. "Ambassador Morgan, we need your help. Our world is falling apart, and we don't know how to stop it." Jordan nodded solemnly. "We're here to help, Elder, but we need to act quickly. The Zerx presence poses a significant threat, especially to the transformed Voxari." As Jordan briefed the council on the Zerx plot, Vesta stepped forward. "Honored council, I stand before you as living proof of the transformation sweeping our world. We must unite our people, transformed and non-transformed alike, to face this crisis together." The council members murmured among themselves, their skin flickering with a mix of colors reflecting their uncertainty and fear. Finally, Elder Zerx spoke. "Very well. We hereby appoint you both as special envoys to mediate between our divided population." No sooner had the words left Zerx's mouth than alarms blared throughout the chamber. A security officer burst in, his skin pulsing with urgent reds. "Counselors, we have reports of coordinated attacks on quarantine zones across the planet." Jordan and Vesta exchanged a look of grit. They knew their work was just beginning, and the fate of two worlds now rested on their shoulders. As they prepared to depart for the nearest conflict zone, Jordan couldn't shake the feeling that they were pawns in a much larger game, one that threatened to reshape the balance of power in the galaxy itself. As Jordan and Vesta prepared to depart for the nearest conflict zone, the situation took a dramatic turn. Alarms blared throughout the city, their urgent wails piercing the air. Captain Chen's voice crackled over Jordan's communicator, her tone grave. "Ambassador, we've intercepted Zerx communications. They're not here for humanitarian aid. They're planning to abduct transformed Voxari females." Jordan's blood ran cold. He exchanged a look with Vesta, whose hybrid features contorted with concern. "We need to act fast," he said, turning to the High Council. "The Zerx threat is more immediate than we thought." Before they could formulate a plan, reports flooded in of coordinated attacks on quarantine zones across the planet. The Zerx were making their move. "We can't let them take our people," Vesta said, her voice firm with grit. Jordan nodded, his mind racing. "We need to rally both transformed and non-transformed Voxari. This is a threat to your entire species." As if in response to their urgency, a Voxari security officer burst into the chamber, his skin flashing urgent reds. "Counselors, we've intercepted a Zerx scout ship attempting to leave the planet. They have captured hybrids on board." The news sent shockwaves through the room. Elder Zerx's skin rippled with a mix of anger and fear. "This is an act of war," he declared, his voice trembling. The revelation galvanized the fractured Voxari society. Reports came in of transformed and non-transformed Voxari setting, aside their differences, joining forces to repel the Zerx invaders. Jordan seized the moment. "Elder Zerx, we need to organize a unified resistance. The Zerx threat affects all Voxari, transformed or not." Vesta stepped forward, her hybrid appearance a striking symbol of unity. "I can serve as a bridge between both groups. We must stand together or fall divided." The council quickly agreed, granting Jordan and Vesta authority to coordinate the resistance. They wasted no time, heading to the Central Command Center where Captain Chen and Voxari military leaders were already gathering. As they entered the command center, Dr. Elena Reeves approached them, her eyes wide with excitement despite the chaos. "Ambassador, I've made a breakthrough," she said, her voice hushed but urgent. "The transformations aren't just superficial. They're activating dormant human DNA sequences within the Voxari genome." Jordan's mind reeled at the implications. "Are you saying humans and Voxari are related?" Dr. Reeves nodded. "It appears we share a common ancestor. This could change everything." Before they could discuss further, Captain Chen interrupted. Ambassador, we've located the main Zerx base of operations. It's heavily fortified, but... But what? Jordan prompted. Chen's eyes darted between Jordan and Vesta. Their security measures are designed to detect either pure humans or pure Voxari. You two might be able to bypass them. Jordan understood immediately. He turned to Vesta, seeing the same realization in her eyes. We could infiltrate their base, he said. Vesta nodded, her hybrid features set with purpose. We have to try. It might be our only chance to stop their plans. As they prepared for the dangerous mission, Jordan couldn't help but feel a mix of fear and exhilaration. The fate of two worlds rested on their shoulders, and their unique physiologies might be the key to saving both. They moved through the chaotic streets of the Voxari capital, witnessing firsthand the unity forming between transformed and non-transformed Voxari. Barricades were being erected, weapons distributed, and strategies shared. The sight filled Jordan with hope. As they approached the outskirts of the city where the Zerx had established their base, Jordan and Vesta paused. They could see the imposing structure in the distance, its alien architecture a stark contrast to the Voxari buildings around it. Ready? Jordan asked, looking at Vesta. She met his gaze, her hybrid features softening for a moment. As I'll ever be, she replied, echoing his words from what felt like a lifetime ago. Together they moved towards the Zerx facility, their hearts pounding with the weight of their mission. As they approached the first security checkpoint, they held their breath, waiting to see if their unique physiologies would indeed allow them to pass undetected. The sensor swept over them, its alien technology humming ominously. For a moment, time seemed to stand still. Then with a soft beep, the barrier before them deactivated. They had made it through. Exchanging a look of relief and renewed drive, Jordan and Vesta pressed on into the heart of the Zerx base. Little did they know that what they would discover inside would shake the foundations of both human and Voxari societies, and set the stage for a conflict that would reshape the galaxy. Galaxy itself. As they stepped into the heart of the Zerx base, Jordan and Vesta's senses were on high alert. The alien architecture surrounded them, a maze of sleek, unfamiliar technology and pulsating energy fields. They moved swiftly through the corridors, their hybrid physiology allowing them to bypass security measures designed for pure humans or Voxari. As they rounded a corner, they came face to face with a group of Zerx guards escorting several captured hybrid females. Without hesitation, Jordan and Vesta sprang into action. Their enhanced strength and agility caught the Zerx off guard. Jordan ducked under a plasma blast, rolling forward to tackle the nearest guard. Vesta's hybrid features contorted with concentration as she unleashed a burst of Voxari bioluminescence, temporarily blinding two more guards. In the chaos that ensued, they managed to overpower the Zerx and free the captives. Among them was a Voxari scientist named Lyra, whose eyes widened with recognition upon seeing Vesta. "You're the one they've been talking about," Lyra said, her voice a mix of awe and relief. "The first successful hybrid." Vesta nodded, helping Lyra to her feet. "We need to get you all out of here. Can you help us understand what the Zerx are planning?" Lyra's expression hardened. "They've been experimenting on us, trying to perfect their own version of the hybridization process. But that's not all. They have plans, vast plans that extend far beyond this world." As they made their way towards the exit, alarms blared through the facility. Jordan's communicator crackled to life, Captain Chen's voice cutting through the noise. "Ambassador, we've secured the perimeter. A joint human Voxari task force is ready to move in on your signal." Jordan exchanged a look with Vesta. "Now, Captain, we're coming out with rescued hybrids. Be ready for anything." They burst out of the facility into organized chaos. Human and Voxari forces worked in tandem, securing the area and providing cover fire as Jordan, Vesta, and the rescued hybrids made their way to safety. As the dust settled, Jordan and Vesta found themselves at the center of a makeshift command post. Captain Chen approached, her expression a mix of relief and urgency. "Good work in there," she said. "But we're far from done. We need to coordinate a planet-wide response to the Zerx threat." Jordan nodded, turning to Lyra and the other rescued hybrids. "Your intelligence on Zerx technology and tactics could be invaluable. Are you willing to help? Lyra stepped forward, her hybrid features set with commitment. We'll do whatever it takes to stop them. As they began to formulate a strategy, Dr. Elena Reeves and lead scientist Crix arrived, their faces flushed with excitement despite the tense atmosphere. Ambassador, we've made a breakthrough, Dr. Reeves announced, holding up a vial of iridescent liquid. A stabilizing agent for the transformed Voxari females. It should prevent further uncontrolled changes and alleviate some of the physical discomfort. The news sent a ripple of hope through the gathered hybrids. Crix's skin flickered with a mix of pride and concern. We need to distribute this as quickly as possible. It could be the key to unifying our people. Jordan's mind raced with the implications. We need a summit, he said, looking at Vesta. Bring together Voxari leaders, human diplomats, and hybrid representatives. We need to present a unified front against the Zerx. Vesta nodded in agreement. I know just the place. There's a fortified underground bunker beneath the capital city. It should be secure enough for such a meeting. As preparations for the summit began, Jordan couldn't shake the feeling that they were on the cusp of something monumental. The fate of two worlds hung in the balance, and the next few hours would be crucial in determining the course of this interstellar conflict. Little did they know that as they gathered their allies and prepared their defenses, Zerx Commander Vix was already setting in motion a plan that would test their newfound unity to its very limits. The true battle for the future of both humans and Voxari was about to begin. The true battle for the future of both humans and Voxari was about to unfold on a scale none of them had anticipated. As the dust settled from their daring rescue mission, Jordan and Vesta found themselves thrust into the heart of a rapidly escalating interstellar conflict. The command center buzzed with activity as reports flooded in from across the galaxy, painting a grim picture of Zerx aggression. Captain Chen approached them, her face etched with concern. Ambassador, we've decrypted the data crystal recovered from the Zerx base. You need to see this. Jordan and Vesta huddled around a holographic display, their eyes widening as the information materialized before them. A vast network of Zerx sleeper agents, embedded within both human and Voxari societies, came into focus, their tendrils reaching deep into the highest echelons of power. This changes everything, Jordan muttered, his mind racing with the implications. We need to implement immediate security protocols. Every high-ranking official needs to be vetted. Vesta nodded, her hybrid features set with commitment. I'll coordinate with the Voxari High Council. We can't afford any leaks or sabotage. As they set to work, Dr. Elena Reeves and lead scientist Crix burst into the room, their eyes alight with excitement. We've done it, Dr. Reeves announced, holding up a vial of shimmering liquid. We've perfected the hybridization treatment. It's safer, more efficient, and the results are remarkable. Jordan felt a surge of hope. How soon can we begin large-scale implementation? Crix's skin flickered with pride. We've already established treatment centers on the Voxari homeworld and key human colonies. We can start creating a hybrid defense force immediately. The next few weeks passed in a blur of activity. Jordan and Vesta found themselves at the forefront of a transformation that was reshaping both societies. They watched as volunteers stepped forward, emerging from the treatment centers with enhanced strength, agility, and sensory perception. During a rare moment of respite, Jordan and Vesta stood on a balcony overlooking the Voxari capital. The city buzzed with a new energy as humans and Voxari worked side by side, their differences fading in the face of a common threat. We've come so far, Vesta said softly, her hand brushing against Jordan's. He turned to her, struck by the way the alien sunlight played across her hybrid features. We have, he agreed, feeling a warmth that had nothing to do with the planet's twin suns. Their moment of peace was shattered by the blaring of alarms. Captain Chen's voice crackled over the comms. Ambassador, we have multiple Zerx ships approaching Earth's moon. They're targeting the hybridization facility. Jordan's blood ran cold. My sister, Dr. Mira Morgan, is overseeing that facility. Vesta gripped his arm. We need to go. Now! They raced to the nearest shuttle, their enhanced physiology allowing them to move within human speed. As they lifted off, Jordan received a transmission from Dr. Reeves. Ambassador, we've detected a new type of biological weapon on the Zerx ships. It's designed to target hybrid physiology. Be careful. The journey to Earth's moon seemed to stretch for an eternity. As they approached, they saw the devastation wrought by the Zerx attack. The hybridization facility was in flames, its defenses breached. Jordan and Vesta led a strike team into the heart of the chaos. They fought their way through waves of Zerx soldiers, their hybrid abilities giving them an edge in the close-quarters combat. They found Dr. Mira Morgan huddled with a group of survivors in a secure bunker. "Jordan," she cried, relief washing over her face. "We managed to save most of the research data, but the Zerx, they're after something specific." As they began the evacuation, a massive Zerx battlecruiser appeared in lunar orbit, its weapons powered up, threatening to obliterate the entire base. Jordan and Vesta exchanged a look of unwavering purpose. "There's an experimental hybrid-piloted spacecraft in the hangar," Mira said, catching their unspoken plan. "It's untested, but—" "It's our only shot," Jordan finished. They raced to the hangar, their hearts pounding in perfect synchronization. As they strapped into the sleek craft, Jordan felt a moment of doubt. "Are you sure about this?" Vesta's hand found his, their fingers intertwining. "Together," she said simply. They launched into the void, their enhanced reflexes guiding the ship through a hail of Zerx fire. The battle that ensued was like nothing either of them had experienced before. Their minds melded with the ship's systems, human ingenuity and Voxari instinct combining in a deadly dance. In a daring maneuver that defied conventional tactics, they managed to exploit a weakness in the Zerx shields. The battlecruiser erupted in a silent explosion, the shockwave buffeting their small craft. As they limped back to the moon base, cheers erupted over the comms. Their victory had done more than save the facility. It had proven the true potential of human Voxari cooperation. But as they stepped out of the spacecraft, both Jordan and Vesta knew that this was only the beginning. The Zerx would retaliate, and the challenges ahead would test not only their military might, but the very fabric of their newly forged alliance. As they watched shuttles full of rescued personnel take off from the battered lunar surface, Jordan's communicator beeped. A message from Earth, reports of anti-hybrid protests erupting in major cities. Simultaneously, Vesta received an alert from the Voxari homeworld. Elder Zorn's traditionalist faction was gaining support, calling for the segregation of hybrids. They exchanged a weary glance, knowing that the battle for hearts and minds would be just as crucial as the one they fought in space. As they prepared to address these new challenges, neither of them could shake the feeling that they had only scratched the surface of the true conflict that lay ahead. Beneath. As Jordan and Vesta prepared to face these new challenges, they knew that drastic measures would be necessary to turn the tide of the conflict. In the days that followed, they found themselves in intense discussions with Dr. Elena Reeves and lead scientist Kriggs. The team had been working tirelessly on refining the hybridization process, incorporating elements of precursor race technology they had uncovered in their research. "We believe we've developed a procedure that could enhance your abilities beyond those of regular hybrids," Dr. Reeves explained, her eyes alight with excitement and trepidation. "But I must warn you, it's experimental and potentially dangerous." Jordan and Vesta exchanged a look, their decision already made. "We'll do it," Jordan said firmly. "If it gives us an edge against the Zerx, we're willing to take the risk." The procedure took place in a heavily fortified research facility on a neutral planet. As Jordan lay on the operating table, he felt Vesta's hand squeeze his own. The last thing he saw before the anesthesia took hold was her determined face, a mirror of his own drive. When they awoke, the world seemed different. Colors were more vibrant, sounds more distinct. As Jordan sat up, he felt a surge of strength coursing through his body. But the most startling change came when he looked at Vesta. He could sense her thoughts, feel her emotions as if they were his own. "It worked," Kriggs said, his skin pulsing with excitement. "Your physical and mental capabilities have been significantly enhanced, and it seems you've developed a form of telepathic communication with each other." There was little time to adjust to their new abilities. Reports came in of a Zerx attack on a distant human colony. Jordan and Vesta knew this was their chance to put their enhanced skills to the test. Leading a strike team, they approached the colony in a stealth ship. As they neared the planet's surface, Jordan and Vesta's newfound telepathic link allowed them to coordinate their strategy without speaking a word. They moved through the Zerx defenses with unnatural speed and precision. Jordan's enhanced strength allowed him to tear through metal barriers, while Vesta's heightened senses detected hidden Zerx soldiers before they could ambush the team. Inside the colony's secret research facility, they discovered a cache of precursor artifacts. Among them was a device that pulsed with an otherworldly energy. As Jordan picked it up, information flooded his mind. "It's a map," he said aloud, his voice filled with awe. "A map to other precursor facilities across the galaxy." Their discovery was cut short by the arrival of a new threat. A group of Zerx soldiers, unlike any they had encountered before, stormed into the room. These creatures moved with frightening speed and strength, their bodies seemingly designed to counter hybrid abilities. The battle that ensued pushed Jordan and Vesta to their limits. They moved in perfect synchronization, their telepathic link allowing them to anticipate each other's moves and cover each other's weaknesses. But the Zerx soldiers were relentless. In a moment of distraction, Jordan took a devastating hit. He felt his ribs crack, his vision blurring from the pain. Vesta's scream echoed in his mind as she saw him fall. In that instant, Vesta felt something awaken within her. A power she didn't know she possessed surged through her body. With a cry of rage and purpose, she unleashed a wave of energy that sent the Zerx soldiers flying backward. Using this moment of reprieve, Vesta helped Jordan to his feet, and they made their way to the extraction point. As they boarded their ship, they watched the research facility erupt in flames, the Zerx destroying evidence of their presence. The journey back to the Voxari homeworld was tense. Jordan's wounds were severe, and Vesta found herself instinctively channeling her newfound energy to help stabilize him. When they finally landed, they were met with news that made their hard-won victory feel hollow. The political situation had deteriorated rapidly in their absence. Elder Zorn's traditionalist faction had gained significant ground, and violent clashes between purists and pro-hybrid groups had erupted in several major cities. The Voxari High Council was on the brink of collapse, with key members supporting Zorn's call to end the hybridization program. Despite his injuries, Jordan knew they couldn't afford to rest. He and Vesta threw themselves into the fray, using their enhanced abilities to quell riots and demonstrate the potential benefits of hybridization to the skeptical Voxari population. Their efforts helped stabilize the immediate crisis, but the underlying divisions remained. As they worked to address the political turmoil, analysis of the precursor artifacts revealed a troubling truth. The Zerx were not merely following an ancient program, but had evolved beyond their original purpose. They now sought to harness the precursor technology for themselves, potentially becoming an even greater threat. This revelation prompted Earth's government to propose a bold plan, a joint human Voxari expedition to locate and secure the remaining precursor facilities before the Zerx could reach them. The success of this mission could turn the tide of the war, but it would require committing significant resources away from defensive operations. As preparations for the expedition began, Jordan received an urgent message from his sister, Dr. Mira Morgan. Her face was pale with concern as she delivered the news. "Jordan, we've discovered something about the hybridization process. The changes, they're hereditary. Future generations will inevitably become hybrids, regardless of whether they undergo the treatment." The implications of this discovery sent shockwaves through both human and Voxari societies. Debates about species purity and the future of both races reignited with renewed fervor. Jordan and Vesta found themselves at the center of a galactic controversy, their relationship scrutinized as a symbol of the irreversible changes facing both species. Amidst this turmoil, the Zerx launched a major offensive against key hybrid training facilities across human and Voxari space. The attacks were coordinated with chilling precision, suggesting the presence of high-level infiltrators within the Alliance command structure. As Jordan and Vesta prepared to uncover the traitors and embark on the crucial expedition to secure the precursor artifacts, they felt the weight of two civilizations on their shoulders. Their enhanced abilities and unique bond would be tested like never before. and they knew that the coming days would determine not only the outcome of the war, but the very future of human and Voxari evolution. The revelation of the hereditary nature of hybridization sent shockwaves through both human and Voxari societies, but there was no time to dwell on the implications. The joint human-Voxari expedition demanded immediate attention, and Jordan and Vesta found themselves thrust into a whirlwind of preparations. In the days leading up to their departure, Jordan and Vesta underwent rigorous training to hone their enhanced abilities. They pushed their bodies and minds to the limit, learning to harness their newfound powers with precision and control. Their telepathic link grew stronger with each passing day, allowing them to communicate and coordinate with uncanny efficiency. The secret base on the outskirts of Voxari space buzzed with activity as the expedition fleet prepared for launch. The centerpiece of the fleet, the HSS Unity, stood as a testament to the collaborative efforts of human and Voxari engineers. Its sleek design incorporated the best of both species' technologies, enhanced by precursor artifacts recovered from their previous missions. As Jordan and Vesta boarded the Unity, they felt the weight of their responsibilities settle upon their shoulders. The success of this mission could turn the tide of the war against the Zerx and secure the future of both their species. The fleet launched under the cover of darkness, slipping away from the Voxari system undetected. As they entered the vast expanse of space, Jordan addressed the crew from the Unity's bridge. "We embark on this mission not just as humans or Voxari, but as guardians of our shared future," he said, his voice steady and determined. "The challenges ahead will test us, but together we will prevail." Vesta stood by his side, her presence a source of strength and reassurance. Through their telepathic link, she added her own silent encouragement, bolstering his commitment. The journey to the first precursor facility was tense but uneventful. The hybrid crews worked in perfect harmony, their enhanced abilities allowing them to navigate the treacherous regions of space with unparalleled skill. As they approached their destination, alarms blared across the fleet. A massive Zerx armada materialized before them, their ships forming an impenetrable wall between the expedition and their goal. "Battle stations!" Jordan's command echoed through the Unity. The bridge erupted into a flurry of activity as the crew prepared for the imminent clash. The space around them exploded into chaos as the two fleets engaged. Energy weapons lanced across the void, and missiles streaked between ships in deadly arcs. The Unity shuddered under the assault, its advanced shields straining against the onslaught. Jordan and Vesta's telepathic link proved invaluable in the heat of battle. They coordinated the fleet's movements with preternatural precision, anticipating the Zerx's tactics and countering them before they could fully form. "Evasive maneuvers," Vesta called out, her mind already conveying a complex series of instructions to the helmsman. The Unity banked sharply, narrowly avoiding a barrage of plasma torpedoes. Jordan's enhanced perception allowed him to spot a weakness in the Zerx formation. "Concentrate fire on Sector 7, he ordered, his thoughts seamlessly merging with Vesta's to relay the strategy to the rest of the fleet. The battle raged for hours, a brutal test of the expedition's mettle. The hybrid crews fought with unmatched skill and willpower, their enhanced ships dancing through the debris-filled space with impossible grace. Yet the cost was high. Several ships sustained heavy damage, their hulls breached, and systems failing. The casualty reports scrolled across Jordan's neural interface, each loss a painful reminder of the stakes they faced. As the Zerx armada finally began to falter, Jordan received an urgent communication from the fleet's sensors officer. "Ambassador, we've detected a Zerx presence on the precursor facility's moon. They've already established a base of operations." Jordan exchanged a grim look with Vesta. They had won the space battle, but the true challenge lay ahead. "Prepare a strike team," he ordered. "We're going in." The Unity docked with the moon's artificial atmosphere, its stealth systems engaged to avoid detection. Jordan and Vesta led a team of elite hybrid soldiers, their enhanced physiology allowing them to move with inhuman speed and precision. As they infiltrated the Zerx base, they encountered a new breed of enemy. These Zerx soldiers moved with frightening agility, their bodies seemingly designed to counter hybrid abilities. The close-quarters combat pushed Jordan and Vesta to their limits, forcing them to rely on their telepathic link more than ever before. They fought their way through winding corridors and vast chambers, each step bringing them closer to the heart of the precursor facility. The architecture around them was alien and ancient, pulsing with an energy that seemed to resonate with their hybrid physiology. Finally, they reached the central archive. The vast chamber housed an array of precursor technology, including blueprints for weapons and defensive systems beyond their wildest imaginations. As Jordan began to secure the data, Vesta's enhanced senses detected an anomaly. "Jordan," she called, her voice tinged with urgency. "There's something else here." They followed the strange energy signature to a hidden chamber where they discovered a stasis pod unlike anything they had ever seen. Jordan's hand hovered over the activation panel, his mind racing with the potential consequences of their discovery. "We have to know," Vesta said, her thoughts intertwining with his. Jordan nodded and pressed the panel. The pod hummed to life, its opaque surface becoming transparent to reveal a being that defied description. As the stasis field dissipated, the creature's eyes snapped open, locking onto Jordan and Vesta with an intensity that sent shivers down their spines. The being stepped out of the pod, its movements fluid and graceful, despite millennia of suspended animation. It spoke, its voice resonating in their minds rather than their ears. "I am Zylara," the being said, its gaze sweeping over them with curiosity and understanding. "And you, hybrid ones, are the fulfillment of an ancient promise." Jordan and Vesta stood transfixed, realizing that their mission had just become far more complex than they could have ever imagined. As Zylara began to explain her purpose and the true nature of the conflict they faced, alarms blared throughout the facility. The Zerx were launching a counterattack, and the expedition's future hung in the balance. With Zylara's revelations echoing in their minds and enemies closing in from all sides, Jordan and Vesta prepared to face the next phase of their journey, one that would challenge everything they thought they knew about their place in the galaxy. The revelation of Zylara's existence and the true nature of the conflict they faced left Jordan and Vesta reeling. However, the blaring alarms swiftly brought them back to the present danger. The Zerx counterattack was imminent, and decisions had to be made quickly. "We can't abandon the expedition," Jordan said, his mind racing through possibilities. "But we can't ignore the threat to the Voxari homeworld either." Vesta nodded, her thoughts aligning with his. "We need to split our forces." In a flurry of activity, they devised a plan. Jordan and Vesta would lead a team back to the Voxari capital to confront Elder Zorn's coup, while Zylara would oversee the continued search for precursor facilities with the remaining expedition forces. As they prepared to depart, Zylara placed a hand on each of their shoulders. "Your bond is stronger than you know," she said, her mental voice resonating with ancient wisdom. "Trust in it, and in each other." With a final exchange of determined glances, Jordan and Vesta boarded their ship, leaving Zylara and the expedition behind. The journey back to the Voxari homeworld was tense, filled with strategic planning and intensive training of their hybrid abilities. Upon reaching the Voxari capital, they found a city in chaos. Smoke rose from multiple districts, and the streets were filled with clashing factions. Jordan and Vesta wasted no time, using their enhanced abilities to move swiftly and stealthily through the war-torn landscape. Their target was Zorn's stronghold, a fortified complex at the heart of the government district. As they approached, they encountered waves of loyalist forces. Jordan's enhanced strength and agility allowed him to disarm opponents with precision, while Vesta's psionic abilities created confusion among their enemies. Fighting their way through the complex, they finally reached Zorn's inner sanctum. The door slid open to reveal the Elder standing before a massive precursor device, his hands hovering over its controls. "Zorn!" Jordan called out, his voice cutting through the hum of machinery. "Step away from the weapon!" The Elder turned, his face contorted with a mix of anger and fear. "You're too late," he snarled. "I'll cleanse our species of this human taint once and for all." Vesta stepped forward, her eyes glowing with psionic energy. "It's not taint, Zorn. It's evolution, the fulfillment of an ancient promise." Jordan added, "We've learned the truth about hybridization. It's not just about combining our strengths. It's about unlocking our shared potential." For a moment, Zorn hesitated, but then his expression hardened. Lies and human propaganda, he spat and slammed his hand down on the activation panel. The precursor weapon hummed to life, energy crackling around it in ominous arcs. Jordan and Vesta exchanged a quick glance, their minds linking in perfect synchronization. Without a word, they moved as one. Jordan extended his hands, using his enhanced strength to physically contain the energy buildup. Vesta's psionic abilities flowed through him, guiding and shaping the power. Together they created a funnel, redirecting the weapon's destructive force upward. The resulting explosion was deafening. The roof of the complex disintegrated, and a pillar of energy shot into the sky. When the dust settled, Zorn's base lay in ruins, but the rest of the city remained untouched. Zorn lay unconscious among the debris, his plans literally crumbling around him. Jordan and Vesta stood at the center of the destruction, their hybrid physiology having protected them from the blast. As they caught their breath, they realized that the entire sequence had been broadcast across the planet. Screens throughout the city showed their act of heroism, their perfect synergy, and the power of their hybrid abilities. The impact was immediate. The fighting in the streets began to subside as Voxari citizens watched in awe. Comms channels lit up with discussions about the potential of hybridization and the need for unity in the face of the Zerx threat. As Jordan and Vesta emerged from the ruins, they were met not with hostility, but with a mixture of curiosity and cautious hope. The tide of public opinion was turning. Their moment of victory was short-lived, however. A priority communication came through from Zylara. Her team had made a breakthrough, discovering a massive precursor installation hidden in the core of a dying star. They had retrieved a device capable of rewriting Zerx Cherokee's genetic coding, potentially ending the war. But there was no time to celebrate this discovery. Long-range sensors detected a massive Zerx fleet approaching the Voxari homeworld. It seemed the enemy had decided to launch their final, all-out assault. Jordan turned to Vesta, their minds already formulating a plan. "We need to rally every ship we have," he said, "hybrid, human, and Voxari alike." Vesta nodded, her eyes glinting with perseverance. "And we need to hold them off long enough for Zylara to get here with that device." As alarms blared across the planet and ships began launching into orbit, Jordan and Vesta prepared to lead the defense of their home. The fate of not just 2 species, but 3, hung in the balance. The final battle was about to begin, and they knew that everything they had learned, everything they had become, would be put to the ultimate test.
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.